Welcome to the Family First Retirement Podcast with George Politarhos. For more information, visit betrayawealth.com. Now, let's get to the show.
Retirement prep is hard enough, but some federal employees may face an extra layer of red tape. So let's talk about some of the federal benefits and what you can do to help our federal employees in the community.
You know, federal employees are a very, I use this term lovingly, unique animal. Whether you work for Social Security Administration, Internal Revenue Service, Border Patrol, Postal Service, Navy, you name it, out of the alphabet, FBI, your benefits are unique. And not everyone understands how your benefits operate. I started my business working with just federal employees, Mark. I think I've told you that before, because I had a friend that was working for the post office. And I said to him, I said, you work for the government. What kind of benefits do you get? Do you get to retire? What kind of money do you make? He said, I have no idea, George. I go to work, I come home. And that's the problem, not just federal employees, but I think with people overall, is you don't know how your benefits work. And when it comes to federal employees, they do have a good benefit base, but they're there to work for you, not for you to work for them. So when we sit down, we're going to talk about those topics, such as there's two types of retirees in the federal marketplace. There is a civil service, they called SERS, or a federal employee retirement service called FERS. And I think the biggest problem that federal employees have is they have that water cooler mentality. And when I say water cooler, if there's still water coolers in offices, you sit there and you speak to Jim, and Jim says, well, I'm retiring next week, and my pension's going to be this much. And then you think that's the way it is for you. But the problem is that Jim is a different employment service, a SERS, compared to a FERS, and their rules are different. So when I talk to people, I'm like, that's why, first off, you don't talk to HR because they can't help you with certain things. You talk to someone like myself who's going to direct you in the way and knows how this works. Federal employees get three types of income in retirement. Three. They're blessed to have a pension. So if you're a postal employee, you work for the FBI, you work for the military, you're going to get a pension right away. And that pension is a mathematical calculation depending on the number of years of service, your high 3, and a number. So you get a pension, which is guaranteed for your life and your wife or husband's life if you choose to take it. And it doesn't always make sense to take a survivor benefit for your spouse. And that's not just federal employees, Mark, that's everybody. Because there's a lot of things we look into doing that. The cost involved in that, life expectancy, who's older, all those type of things, and we calculate that in. They then get their Social Security, most of them, unless they were hired before 1983, they don't pay into Social Security, but you have Social Security. And that comes to the question of, when do I take it? What does my wife or husband get out of my Social Security? When's the best age to turn on Social Security? And then third avenue of income they have is something called a thrift savings plan, a TSP. Now they have the kind that you and I have, which is a 401k, a 403b, which is pre-tax dollars, or they have an after-tax dollar plan, also a TSP Roth. When do you start pulling from that? How do I use that money? Is it always my money? If I turn on the option the thrift savings plan gives me, which is my lifetime, what's that do for my husband or wife upon my passing? Do they get to keep it? There's a lot of questions. And when you sit down with me, we're going to answer those questions, because what your HR department as a federal employee tells you is that if you call them, just like if you call the Social Security Administration, and you call them and say, I want to retire next year, I'll be 63. How much will my Social Security be? Or should I take it at 64? And they'll say, well, today your number will be this. Should I start the paperwork? They cannot give you the answers to those questions. Your HR cannot tell you when the right time for you to retire as a federal employee is, because some people with the federal employment can retire at age 57 with a full pension and extra money. They can retire at 60 with a full pension and extra money, or they can retire at 62 and beyond and get a pension and Social Security and everything. But it's a confusing fact that you just don't go to John down the street who does taxes and does people's retirements, because as a rule, John does not specialize and is not an expert in the federal marketplace. which I am and our team is here at Portrayal Wealth. When you call us, we're going to answer those questions because we know what FEGLI is, which is your life insurance that you can pay for. Is it great to keep in retirement? For some people, yes. For most, it's not. We know about your health insurance, the FEHB. What's the benefits? Do I have to sign up for Part B if I'm over 65? Can I keep this? Can I change plans? There's a lot of questions, but you need someone that does it every day, that handles this every day to get you in the right place. And the biggest part about working with Portrayal Wealth, myself, Jared, Achilles, Angie, is that when you come in here, we're not looking just at the employee mark because that's a single entity. Your HR can only tell you what your benefit's going to be for your pension. When you sit with me, I'm going to tell you, because most of us retire as teams, right? Mm-hmm. What your pension is, how it goes with your spouses, how they're going to intertwine. Therefore, do I take a survivor benefit from my spouse who is 8 years older than me? He's 8 years older than me. Odds are he will be past me for you. So do I necessarily take that? Do I pay the premium to have a survivor benefit? Sometimes I have to, sometimes I don't. How about his or her 401k? And we're going to mix it with our TSP. How's it going to benefit us? Because at the end of the day, our jobs look out for you and your family, whereas the employer, the government in this situation, is looking out for what's best for them. Stop in 302-330-2166 to schedule that no-cost, no-obligation meeting. Let me tell you when you're going to retire, what your FERS or SERS pension is going to be, how much Social Security is going to be, how TSP is going to work for your retirement, and should we keep FEHB and FEGLI going forward? A lot of questions, a lot of alphabets thrown out there, but you need someone that deals with it to help you, and that's what we do every day. You are part of our government. You're part of helping us live our lives the best you can. Let me help you live your life in retirement the best way we can.
So if you're a federal employee listening this weekend and you just heard George talking about some of these strategies, give the team a call. It's no cost. It's no obligation because George and the team at the Portrayal Wealth Group, they have special strategies specifically designed just for our federal employees. Again, it costs you nothing to have the conversation. 302-330-2166. Again, 302-330-2166.
With the proprietary programs I use every day for the federal employees, we also have neglected to say how important our state employees are. Because if you're in Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, Ohio, your pension's different than everyone else's. The programs that we use takes your pension into account, puts that in there, see what the right options are. Our people, the public servants of this country need the assistance to help them get step forward. So I don't want to exclude them from that conversation. They need help, and we're here to help them also.
Insurance and annuities offered through George A. Politarhos, Delaware Insurance License Number 1373121. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties.